Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Jacqueline Nunley. I am the Travel and Hospitality Industry Advisor at Salesforce. So the first thing we wanted to say is, of course, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we hope that the content that we're going to share is going to be really helpful to all of you. And hopefully at the end of our interview here with Mr. Terry, we'll have a few minutes for some questions. So, Brian, I wanted to introduce my colleague, Brian Terry from Deloitte. He is the Managing Director and Global Airline Leader at Deloitte. And welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I think it's fantastic that we are kicking off the Sustainability Pavilion, as I know we're both pioneers in this space and are both very passionate about it. So thank you for the invitation.
Great. So in the interest of time, let's get started. I have a few questions for you, Brian. So sustainability and, a commitment to the environment is becoming an increasingly important factor. And travel companies and travelers alike are also very interested in the way that it's becoming more of a prominent issue. So as with the important issues in this industry and facing us today, I just wanted to ask, what are some of your thoughts around sustainability and what our travel companies and customers and prospects should be doing?
Thank you. I think it's evolving and evolving rapidly. We've been active in sustainability. I've been active in it going back 3+ years pre-pandemic. And I think we've seen a transition in terms of the strategic importance. And that transition to strategic importance has led to increased investment. 3 to 5 years ago, a lot of the sustainability efforts were really more PR driven out of communications area. Now you're seeing more chief sustainability officers, you're seeing more budgets being applied towards that. Even within Deloitte, it's the largest professional services firm in the world with 345,000 people. We have our own sizable footprint to be concerned about, not only for ourselves, but helping our clients with these issues. So in April of this year, we announced a $1 billion commitment to this in terms of investing in new people, new technologies, and additional resources to meet not only our internal needs, but that of our clients.
That's amazing. I know that a lot of people here in this area today are concerned about sustainability and do see some of these same issues that you mentioned. But travel brands have many new stakeholder demands. And this includes, corporate travelers, employees, investors, and also society at large. So what new capabilities and enabling technologies must travel providers consider to meet all of these growing requirements?
Sure, that's a super question. And not only there are multiple stakeholders, but there are multiple and different considerations with each of those groups. And irrespective of your views on sustainability, your political views, at the end of the day, it's here for real, and it's a cost of doing business. It's really a business imperative that you can't ignore. So whether you're on the defensive mode and you just want to satisfy all the requirements of those stakeholders, or whether you're more on the offense mode and you see opportunity to take advantage, whether to grow into new business areas, take market share from competitors, etc., you may invest even more in that space. To do so, it really starts with education of your own workforce, not only of your leadership team, but also the workforce at large, so everybody understands the importance of this issue. It then requires investment and commitment from leadership to invest in having the right people and the right technology. We talk about technology, of course. Salesforce is a great platform and a great example to bring all this together. Whether you think about, as we're here this week, your corporate travel clients, but then broader, you've got governments and regulators that you mentioned, and increasingly important investment community who's looking for your sustainability bona fides and more to warrant further investment. And then to your point, society at large, whether that be activists or other consumers and potential consumers of your services. So you need the right technology to not only aggregate data, but also analyze the information and take action upon that information, whether that be the right communication or the right offers to the right audience at the right time with the right messaging, et cetera.
I love
Salesforce and other technologies can enable that.
Yeah, I love that. We talk often about, how employees are extremely important as we move into this era, and how educating employees is actually going to help with some of the problems that we're seeing in our industry, whether it's encouraging, employees to come and work for companies. So it's an important subject that has to be integrated into the way we actually work. It's part of our initiatives for the future of work. So, time for a little plug-in. So what's Deloitte doing to help its travel and hospitality clients, and how is Salesforce helping?
Sure. Well, we are working across the board in the sustainability space, and Salesforce can help in many of those areas. So whether you talk about your sustainability strategy and setting in place your targets, whether that be achieving net zero, and by what year and how to do so, et cetera. And then as you kind of peel that onion back and look at the actual ways to get there, whether that be through sustainable aviation fuel, whether that be investment in new technologies such as carbon capture, or in the case of airlines, new sources of propulsion and energy, things of that nature. We assist our clients with all of those decisions. We also help them in terms of the controls that are increasingly coming in place. So now we talked about the investment community. So everybody's putting out sustainable reports, but the investment community wants to have comfort and confidence in those reports. So again, how do you aggregate that data? How do you ensure the accuracy of that data? So ESG controls is becoming increasingly important. And then going beyond that, how do we communicate that? So we help our clients actually publish their corporate sustainability reports in many forms and fashions. And we also help them increasingly, not necessarily in the US, although it's likely to come. We talk about governments and regulators. How do you put those reports together to satisfy those bodies as well? And we're active in this space literally around the world, from New Zealand all around the globe.
I love that, so that we can get a world view of what works best, and pulling all of these best practices into solutions for our industry is what is really important. I love that you also touched on, several areas with regards to what these travel companies can do now. What I'm really looking forward to is how they can extract some of the value from all their effort so that they can apply it to customers, to employees, and of course to, partners as well.
Yeah. And let me just step in, because I failed to answer part of your last question about how Salesforce is helping in that regard. So as you've seen on the slideware that's going around, whether it be Net Zero Cloud, or whether it's some existing platforms, whether that be Lightning or Experience Cloud or Service Cloud or Tableau or now CRMA, all of those tools are great assets. And I think the fantastic thing that Salesforce is able to do is to bring all of these pieces together. There are a lot of niche and boutique players and technology companies that play a valuable role in this space. And it's not to diminish the importance of them, but Salesforce can bring all that together, again, from an aggregation standpoint, an analysis standpoint, and a reporting standpoint.
Yes, I love that. The power of one platform. So what are some of the greatest challenges, opportunities, and other key takeaways that from your work in this space, that you can actually share with us today?
It's interesting. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we talk to airlines, hotels, car rental companies, and other companies across the travel ecosystem. And even within those specific industries, a lot of the challenges are different. If we think about from an airline perspective, they get a lot of attention because they produce probably more emissions and get a lot of the bullseye or the targeting. However, in some respects, their problem is very hard, but it's very confined. 98+% of emissions come from the burning of jet fuel. And so everybody is familiar about new aircraft, new engines that are helping to reduce that, new conventional. Looking further out, whether we go to hybrid or electric or hydrogen, sources of energy in the future will play a role. But if you flip that to the hospitality side in the hotels, it's a totally different challenge in the fact that the complexity of working, especially in the franchisee relationships, and you've got hundreds or thousands of franchisees around the world that are outside of your control, yet you need to influence, you need to educate, you need to inform them the importance of this issue. You rely upon them for collecting data, and you're getting data in various formats and trying to pull all that together. And again, going back to controls, having confidence in that data. So in some respects, we see more challenges in that part of the business than we do on the airline side.
Right, it is very complex. You touched on a really important portion of how hoteliers could really take advantage of the use of one platform to make sure that the data that they're actually putting in as they work towards their sustainability goals is more accurate, but also when it comes to extracting that value, it's great because you're kind of like looking at one consolidated kind of like repository of data and being able to make meaning from that, which is amazing. So, last question, Brian. So what resources are available and where can people find them? And who are the experts?
Well, within Deloitte, there's too many experts to mention here and too many lines of business. I think one of the things that we can in some respects uniquely offer is not only to bring the technology solutions to bear, but we fail to mention we also assist companies from a tax perspective, because there's a lot of tax consequences and considerations in play, but also from an accounting perspective. You know, a lot of companies are making $1 billion or similar size commitments over the next 10 years. How do you smooth that out so you don't create bubbles over that time frame? So there's a lot of things there. And I would say, you know, just reach out, start with me. I don't have anywhere close to all the answers, but I know the people who do. So we can get you connected there. Our website is a great source of information and content and contacts as well. Certainly within your organization, likewise, I know there are people everywhere who are playing in this space and contributing greatly.
Yes, there are. Thank you. And they're here today as well. So please make sure that you come to our table in the back where we have some experts who can answer some of your questions. But I think we might have a minute for just a couple of questions or just one question. So I'll turn it over to anybody in the audience.
Brian, you touched briefly on sustainable aviation fuel. It's a key component for the travel industry in the goals that we're trying to set. Can you go a little bit further, a little bit deeper in terms of strategy and what your thoughts are around SAF and how you're looking at that, procuring it, and so on?
Yeah. Good question. We've been looking at SAF going back to 2019 and pre-pandemic. We were one of the pioneers and launched our first wave of joint purchases with many of the airlines here this week, notably in the U.S. with United, with American, with Delta, with Southwest. We've since added Alaska and JetBlue. We were one of the first to get involved in this space. I think for us, one of the challenges also is that similar to other companies will face moving forward, every company has their own sustainability targets and requirements. And for us, we have those as well, and being able to get I'm forgetting my words here right now, apologies. But the Scope 3 emissions were incredibly important for us because within a company of our size, there's always competition for that capital. And money's going to flow where it gets a return. In our case, we're trying not only to be good citizens, but beyond being a philanthropic exercise, we want to use our investments to get some return on that in the form of measurable emission reductions. And the state Scope 3 credits enable us to do that. And I know there's been some controversy and debate around the extension of those, but I think it's critical, number one, to drive corporate investments in that, because if they're not going to get credit for it, they're going to spend that money elsewhere. Second is the supply. When we went to renew our purchase agreements this year, one of the big challenges we faced was just lack of supply in the market, and I think all of the airlines are dealing with that same issue. So I think you'll hear others coming after us, so I won't spend a lot of time on that, about how to increase the supply of SAF, not only from an availability perspective, but also an affordability perspective. And I'll let others comment on that, but happy to talk to you separately on that as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our presentation today. Thank you to Deloitte and Brian for joining us. And please come and see us. We're right over there. You'll see our little logo. So come and talk to our experts. Thanks so much. Have a great time at GBTA, and thank you for being here.
Thanks so much.